Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for being here today. We're really excited to be joined this evening by old Stoic Jonathan Bannister, founder and executive coach at Make Happy, for a workshop titled Think Again, Why Creativity is Your Superpower. Throughout the session, we're joined by Croft and Lyttelton mentors, and we'll be discussing how creative thinking can act as a real superpower, helping us approach challenges differently, support others more effectively as mentors, and grow into confident, thoughtful leaders. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Well done, you. So, we're off. Why don't you all grab a post-it note and write on the post-it note, and each post-it note a different, what do you want out of this session? Yeah, so what do you want to learn? What do you want? So write down, I wish, IW, or it would be great if, but don't write it would be great if, right? Just write the letters. So IW, or it would be great if, and just put down, what do you, I presume you had some sense of why you're turning up today, unless you were told to come and you really would rather be getting ready for the ball. So write down, what do you want out of today? This session. Then the other thing you can all do is write your name on a post-it note and point it my way, so I don't call you all Fred or Frederica or something like that, which I have a... Thank you, Will. Nice and big so I can read it with my very bad eyesight. Yeah. And if you've got more than one thing you write on a second post-it note. Very good. Lisa, thank you. Olivia, good. So I'll remember all of these. There we go. Amelia, Perry. Very good, I'm there. Will and Ben. I'll remember that. That's my brother. Yeah. Okay, so let's start with the ducks while you do that. Who, when I gave you those 6 bricks, thought, oh shit, there's a right way of making a duck? Did you go, or did you just start building? You have to talk to me, people, otherwise I will... You started building. You just went straight in and you... And did you build one? Did you change it, Amelia?
I did change it a lot. I don't know if it's perfect just yet, but I'm still going.
Good. So what you're doing is you're prototyping.
Yeah.
Yeah? You had a go. And I think I see a lot of ducks, and I think that is a very good duck, actually. That's a great duck. Yeah? Who thought that the red bits were beaks? Yeah? Who thought they were wings? None of you. So no one took it as a wing. Who thought that they were a tail? Oh, one. That normally, by the way, there's only one. I did a workshop yesterday with 40 lawyers, one tail, and who thought they were feet? Yeah. What was the instruction? Build a duck. Yeah, but look at the difference in the room. Yeah, you all have built me great ducks. So again, with all of this, reflect on what that means in terms of your creativity and how we approach it. And we'll come more to that. But let's now go around and go, what do you want out of this evening?
I said, how to use creativity effectively and help others use theirs.
Good. Okay, I will try and do something with that. Amelia.
I wish to learn greater problem-solving skills and be more creative.
Okay, thank you. I might be able to do something with that.
I just like to expand my knowledge.
To expand your knowledge, that's good too. I might be able to do something with that. Well, we'll have...
I said I wish that I can see a new perspective on how I can be a mentor in a creative way to solve problems.
And a creative way to solve problems. Now the lads who are sitting all on the side, what have you got? Feed me.
I put think more creatively.
Okay, good.
I put I wish I could explore what creativity looks like in a mentoring program.
Creativity in a mentoring program, great. Connect better with your mentee. Very
I
good.
wish to develop my creativity.
Your creativity. So what is creativity? What's your definition of creativity?
Thinking outside the box.
Thinking outside the box. Good. What else? Original ideas. Tell me a bit more about that.
Things that can solve
Okay. What else?
Your ability to see things in an unconventional way.
Your ability to see things in an unconventional way. Okay, good. What else? Do you think you're creative? On a scale, let's stand up. On a scale of I am a jelly and don't have a creative bone in my body, over here, and over here I am Frida Kahlo, that fantastic Mexican artist, 10. Go. Tell me where you're standing. Okay. Oh, and the halfway mark. Okay. So we're sort of, Stowe's come out somewhere in the centre. Yeah, maybe 6, 7?
Yeah, maybe 6.
Maybe a 6, he said. Maybe a 4? Okay. Very good. Sit down. There we go. And I'm now going to show you a definition. So a little bit about how I got to doing what I do is I left Stowe, I went to university, I went to UCL, I read geography, and I joined an ad agency. I did 4 years in London as an account handler, and then I went to Hong Kong and worked in Hong Kong as my wife had moved to Hong Kong. And in Hong Kong, after I'd been there a year, the chairman of Leo Burnett in Asia Pacific took me aside and he said, Jonathan, I said, yes. He said, Jonathan, you're truly the worst account manager I've ever employed anywhere in the world. And I went, ooh, this conversation might not be going quite where I thought it was going to go. And I went, oh, thank you, Alan. What does that mean? He said, but you're a very good strategist, so you can set up the strategy department. And I then suddenly realized I'd chosen that first 5 years of my career, I was just doing the wrong thing. So one of the things as mentors is you can be there to help your mentee reflect on that. You're not there to tell them what to do, but think about how you can get them to reflect on that. And then at the same time, about 6 months later, a woman came out from Chicago called Brenda Russell Williams. And these are two people, funny how I remember those names all that time ago. And she taught us to run workshops. And she was the first person who began to explain creativity to me. And I remember at the time going, OMG, you get paid to do this. And that's what I've done ever since. And she introduced me to Dr. Ruth Noller. And if ever there was anybody who changed my life, Dr. Noller did. And Noller was one of the first women to be allowed to join US Naval Intelligence, and she served during the Second World War. And any of you doing history? What brought the Americans into the Second World War?
I'm actually not sure.
That's okay, Pearl Harbor, yeah? So the most powerful military in the world missed the Japanese Sixth Fleet coming towards them. Yeah, with all of that intelligence that they had, that intelligence gathering they had, they missed that, and the Americans joined the Second World War. And so Noller was fascinated in how do we solve problems. She was a mathematician, and she came up with this equation for creativity, and that is that creativity equals the function, yeah, of small a, brackets, times k, I, e, close brackets, yeah? And let's go through that. K is your knowledge, yeah? And Noller said, the more knowledge you have, the more likely you are to be creative, yeah? So, but she also said it wasn't just the depth of your knowledge, it was the breadth of your knowledge. So if you've never read a comic, go and read a Tintin book or an Asterix book, because suddenly you'll have a different perspective of the way people look at the world. If you've never read a sci-fi book, just reading one sci-fi book will change the way you are creatively, because suddenly you'll have a different perspective. Is that sort of making sense? Then she said you needed I. And I is imagination. And the way she talked about I was your ability to generate options. And today we talk about that being divergent thinking. Yeah? So when I say, what should we do for the end of term party? If I asked you all to write down one idea versus 10 ideas, where do you think we're more likely to find something that is exciting and new? With 8 ideas or 80 ideas? With
80 ideas.
Why?
Because you have more options.
Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah? So you go for options. But she said there was no good just having a bunch of post-it notes on the wall. You needed the ability to evaluate. Yeah? You needed then to be able to choose your ideas, and we talk about that being E. Does that make sense? Yeah? And then she added A. What do you think A is? Small a. Have a guess. Go on, I can see you want to say something.
Accessible.
Okay, that's a good start. And we'll build on accessible. It was your attitude. And she said, are you one of those people that bring energy to every encounter? Or do you suck it out and just pull energy out of every encounter? And how many people do you go, maybe you've got some friends, and every time you go, maybe we do this, you'll have some friends who go, yes, and we can do that, and maybe we can do that. And there'll be others going, no, we did that last week. Or, I don't have enough time. And they're constantly shutting stuff down. Yeah? And why do you think I get so excited about that as an equation? Clearly, you're not that excited yet, but I'm going to try and make you excited. Sorry? But do you think it relates to you? That's the question. Yeah? Why? Seems like a reasonable equation. Boom. Thank you. You've nailed it. That's exactly why I get so excited, is that throughout your lives, you can work on your attitude. Yeah? You can start practicing being a yes and person. So when somebody gives you an idea, you can go yes and versus no but. Yeah? That, by the way, transforms any interaction, and in a second we're going to try it. You can do exactly as Ben just said. You can go and get some more knowledge. Yeah? And remember, the knowledge doesn't have to be just sitting in a classroom or the library reading books. Go to an art gallery you've never been to. See a film that you might never have seen before in a genre. All of that will help. You can teach people to develop more ideas. That's the whole basis of my business. And I can teach you to be better at evaluating ideas. And then, because it's a mathematical, so all of these you can work on every single day of your life. On Friday, tomorrow, I'm actually starting a new course that I'm being taught by somebody I met the other day. Actually, it's suicide awareness, which seems a little sort of full on, but I thought, he asked me to do it, and I am going to become a trained mentor for people who are feeling that far out. So I've decided to add to my K. Now that was a choice, yeah? And then the other thing is you can measure it. So did you take the Bassador profile? Yeah? So I have a generator in the room, don't I? I'm pretty sure, if I remember rightly, didn't you take it? That's right.
I did,
Yeah,
so I can tell them about it.
yeah. So you did, and everybody else took it? Yeah. So do you remember what you were? Who were my generators in the room?
Can I look?
Please look.
I think I was a generator.
You were a I had 2 or 3 generators.
Yeah, I think I was a generator.
Okay.
I was an optimizer.
You're an optimizer, so you're down here. Yeah. Those are my generators up there. These are my conceptualizers, and these are my implementers. I've got a bunch of implementers in this room. Will, you were up there, so Will, you were there? You were up there? Okay, that's fine.
As a generator.
Yeah, you were.
What was the red one?
Which one?
There were colours. I remember the colours.
Okay, that's very good that you're a colour person. I was actually about to look it up. Let me just see if I've got it up here. Here we are. I have got, you were an optimizer. Let me see if that does say. I've got William Rendell. Who's that?
Oh, he's not here.
Not here. I've got Benjamin. Yeah, you were an optimizer. And Anton, who I presume is not here. Alex.
He's playing football.
He's playing football. Alicia, yeah, you were there. And Mr. West, you were my two generators. And Will, you actually sit on the border, yeah? So you're here. You are what we call a generator implementer, and I'll explain what that means in a second. And then I've got Tia, Callum, Luca, Amelia as my implementers, yeah? In the world, what we measured here actually was based on Ruth Noller's equation. So in those questions, as you ordered those questions, we were getting a sense of, do you have a preference? And this is really important. It's not a skill. It is your preference. And anybody who is on this side, yeah, those two, have a preference for divergent thinking. Yeah? You have a preference for making options. Anybody on this side, these 2 boxes, you have a preference for narrowing down options. Yeah? Does that make sense? For sort of narrowing. And then what we also measure is, how do you like to gain information, and how do you like to and some of you, how do you like to get, some of you are like me, are very experiential. Yeah? You like to listen. Some of you like to get into the reading. Yeah? And what this actually does is, sometimes these people will fight like mad. Yeah? So generators think that optimizers are too narrow-minded, and optimizers think that generators are just always daydreaming about the next job. Conceptualizers and implementers fight hard as well, which is why sometimes in a team, when you don't understand your creative preference, you begin to have a fight. So think about this in terms of when you're mentoring somebody. Just because their energy goes up and down for different things, is that because they have a different preference for how they like to generate options? And by the way, in the world, 70% of the population globally sit in these 2 boxes. Only 30% are our generator conceptualizers. We do not have enough generators in the world. Yeah? And where you see this is generators tend to be entrepreneurs. So next week, I'm in Brussels running a 3-day boot camp with a whole lot of fast-growing tech companies. They're nearly all up here. Yeah? Air traffic control. Where do you think air traffic control sit? Here. Would you want air traffic control to be anything but just implementing and doing the job? Yeah? So you imagine if you're a pilot coming in from Singapore on you know what the flight is from Singapore? BA29, I think it is, that lands about 6 o'clock in the morning. And just imagine as they're coming across the channel and they go, good morning, Biggin Hill to, you know, airbase there. We are looking for a landing slot. And the air traffic controller went, good morning, Airbird 29. Do you know, I don't really care. Why don't you choose a runway, or why don't you try a new flight path? I thought maybe you could go around the Shard and choose. They'd be going straight to Charles de Gaulle. And in problem solving, we need people in all of these boxes. These are the people who look for new opportunities. Yeah? These are the people who like developing the ideas. These are the people who like choosing the best idea and making a plan. And these are the people who like to get things done. Does that sort of make sense? And the nice thing about this is you move. Through your life, you're not fixed. If you are more open, you will begin to move. So when I first took the test 20 years ago, I was somewhere down here. And then over the last 20 years, I've moved over here. Because I've changed. So you'll be able to change. So think about that in terms of what does that mean? And now I'm going to get you to start thinking and feeding back to me. What does that say about creativity and how you might now mentor some people? Thinking about the equation. How are you going to potentially use the equation as a mentor?
It shows that you're not like born with, it's like most people think that you're born with creativity or you're not born with creativity.
Yeah.
But it shows that like you can like expand your creativity.
Super Will. So how might you use it with your mentee?
Give them ideas on how to, like, if they need to expand their knowledge or come up with more ideas, like build them by direction towards that.
Yeah. And again, what I offer you is get them to, as much as possible, get them to think about the answer as well. Ask it as questions. What else are you doing? How else are you getting knowledge? Yeah? Good start. What else? What else? How might you use that? You can build a whole mental relationship around that. Go.
I guess you could change your attitude towards the mentor.
Okay.
So be more positive and encouraging.
Yeah? And how might they be feeling at this stage? Because they're what, third form? So they're what age? 13. Starting at a new first year? Remember what that was like when you first came here? Yeah? So they probably feel they're A. And by the way, just because they don't feel good doesn't mean they don't have a good attitude, but they might feel really constrained about, they're trying to adapt, aren't they? They're trying to go, what are the norms here at this school? What can I do and what can't I do? Yeah? You don't necessarily at that age want to sort of completely stand out. So how might you do that? But the bit that I really want you to think about on that is the yes and. Yeah? Get them to look for options. Yeah? So go, well, what else? What else might you do? Good. That's two I like. What else? What else might you do? How might you use that?
Maybe you can help them see, like you said, kind of new options, but then if they're a bit confused on which option is going to suit them better, help them kind of evaluate their options so they can like choose the right path.
Okay. And there's a yes and to that. So keep going. Don't stop. You're in a super interesting area, so go on.
Like, kind of and see what options work for them, and if that option doesn't work for them, help them see the new, like, they can go down a path kind of. If one doesn't work, they can look at another path.
Good. So the idea is don't shut it down. And the other thing is that my yes and to that, so again, thank you, 3 so far. My yes and is that when they're developing options, get them to develop options. Don't let them shut options down too early. Yeah? Encourage them. Go, that's interesting. So why do you think that? Why do you think that? You could ask them, what else might you do? Yeah? And at some stage, you're right, you then have to move out of this into this thinking, and that's where you can help them begin and go, so how might you judge which of those options is the best? One of the things you do here is you're constantly being tested, aren't you, in terms of right and wrong, yeah? That's the sort of the nature, that's so much of what schoolwork is there is a right answer. You know, when you begin to get out there and you're working, it isn't always as black and white. And here is, if there's only one thing you take away from this talk, yeah, and I'm sort of watching time, is that when you do divergent thinking, yeah, you never, ever, ever do convergent thinking. Yeah? Divergent thinking and convergent thinking are separated at all times. So if you were thinking about, let's have some ideas for whatever, set a time and say for the next 5 minutes, let's just generate some options. Yeah? And what happens if someone gives you an option in this stage that you don't like? What sometimes happens? Talk to me in your...
Reject it.
Sorry?
You reject it, like you just say, no, that's not a good idea.
And then what happens to the atmosphere in the room?
It's kind of like tense, like you just shut down someone's idea.
Yeah? And so, yes, and what might you do instead?
It's like you just have to like consider like their perspective and then like go into the evaluation later.
Yeah, good.
Spend time like getting all the options before you judge.
I think maybe accepting that like your thinking isn't the only right thinking.
Super.
So like going with a mindset that like this is what I think, but that doesn't necessarily mean this is what others will.
Brilliant.
Quite open-minded.
Good.
With any interpretation.
And there's even one, both of those are foundational, but there's even one thing more you could do, which transforms what happens here when someone gives you an idea you don't like. Yeah, you can go, Amelia, thank you for that idea. Yeah, even though inside you're going, that is a load of shit. Yeah, you go, Amelia, thank you for that idea. It's made me think of this. Can you imagine how transformative that is? What does it do to you? You go, oh, good, I might give another idea now. Yeah? And everybody else in the room suddenly turns around and goes, well, actually, Amelia thought that was an interesting idea. I didn't necessarily think, but maybe there was something good in it. Yeah? And you both said exactly the right thing. You know there's going to be a chance to judge those ideas. So in this stage, everything that you're given is an opportunity to build on it and to take it. Just use whatever is given to you in that moment as a stepping stone to build something else. And the trouble is that so much of the way we live our lives, as soon as you offer something, people are getting out a really big axe and trying to chop it down. Yeah? I mean, I presume that happens quite a lot. Class amongst your, yeah? So that is, this transforms creativity. Yeah? So one of the things we say when we teach creativity is that we assume that everybody is creative. Yeah? All of you've got some knowledge. You've all had an idea, I presume, and you can choose between, when you go to the canteen, you sit there and you can make a choice. You've all done all of this, yeah? And you're all working on these. So everybody's creative, and creativity can be learnt. Those are the assumptions we make about creativity. And the engine that drives creativity is divergent and convergent thinking, drives creativity, and is done at whenever you're problem solving. And so, for those of you who said, I want to be more creative, I'd like to develop my creativity, that is all you need to do. Yeah? And there's lots of ways you can then brainstorm here and do that. That is fundamental. So fundamental that I would actually get it tattooed on your hand so that every time you look at it, you know, if you were going to have any tattoo, that. So every time you do, you just go, am I about to critique an idea that I shouldn't be critiquing? Does that make sense? So let's try an exercise. Boy, go. And you're now we're going to try yes and no but. We're going to plan a party. So pair up, stand here, we're going to have the camera over here, here and here, and we're going to try a bit of this. Just the sort of thing that you all probably absolutely hate, and I'm making you do it. Yeah? Will? There, don't move. You two? Yeah, just pair up. And what I want you to do is you are going to offer each other, we're planning a party for the summer. Yeah? And you offer an idea, you have to take the idea, and initially, I want you to say yes, but, and then do something with that idea and hand it back to Will. And Will, you have to take what you're given, but go yes, but, and try and do something with it. So each of you pair up. The brief is to start planning the party after your final exams. Go, let's see what happens. But remember, you're doing yes, but. So each of you pair up. You don't have to watch these two, you're all doing it in pairs. Come on, team, just work with me. Okay. Yes, but. Start with yes, but. And now, offer something back. Yep, you offer something back. Yes, but.
Yes, but it's necessary to prevent
Yes, but.
Okay.
Everyone has to be finished.
Okay. Is this quite difficult doing it with yes, but?
Yeah.
Yeah? What's happening to the energy?
It's quite negative.
It's negative because you're killing it straight away, aren't you? Now we're going to try it the other way around, and any answer you're given, you go yes and Ben, and hand it, build on it and hand it back, and you'll go yes and hand it back, okay? So we swap it from yes but to yes and, go. Plan me the best sixth form end of year party going. Bounce ideas, go. I want wilder ideas. Come on, push it. Keep going.
Yes, and we need gazebo.
Go, yes, and it. Very good. Go, go, go. Okay. What happened the second time? You didn't play particularly well with me, but it's the end of a long day. What happened the second time?
It's much more ideas. Easier to think about.
Easier to think? More options?
There's more to like build on.
There was more to build on? And give me, I'm going to come to you, give me more why.
Because you don't have to think about changing it.
Yeah, you're just going. And I think to start with, in this one, on the first one, we got to a swimming pool, and at that stage we stopped, and the ideas got better, didn't they? Yeah? So again, yeah, that changes everything. Every conversation, if the 8 of you, if I ever come across any of you in the future again, and I never hear you, you should go yes and every time you're talking. Practice it from now on. And don't tell people you're doing it, yeah? So when you're at the meet and someone says, just go yes and, that made me think. And after a bit, people, I promise you, people will start to go, do you know, I love having a conversation with Priya because it seems so positive, yeah? These are the things that you can model, you don't have to shout about, yeah? So how might you model that? Will? Go on, do it, model it to me.
Yes, and.
Thank you, you see, you've just started. Yeah, very good. Okay, how are we doing for time? We have got, what else did we get on here? You found that hellish, didn't you? Doing that bit of acting and having to work it out. Yes, okay. Grab a seat and I'll do one last thing with you in terms of, see, look, that's a bit of yes and. A yin and yang duck. What do you think the difference between a mentor is? I mean, have you had some work on being a mentor versus being a coach? What have you been told is the difference between being a mentor? Go.
More like, rather than trying to control your life, trying to be more like a friend.
Yeah.
With advice rather than like you have to do this.
Yeah. I belong to a group called the IAF, the International Association of Facilitators. You know, we meet, and we met on Tuesday. We meet just outside King's Cross at a coffee shop there. And we were talking about menteeing, and there's a new piece of research out that shows that who do you think gets the most out of a mentee-mentor relationship? Yeah. By a country mile, the mentors get the most out of it. Yeah? And what do you think is the single, in this was a piece of research, multi-country research, what was the biggest critique from the mentee of their mentors?
The mentor thinking they're more like knowledgeable or experienced than the mentor.
Okay, great start. That was high up the list. It wasn't the number one. Have another go. There's no wrong answer.
Maybe the mentor not listening to the mentee and just like talking rather than listening.
Boom. It was that the mentor spoke too much. The mentor spoke too much. Yeah, so thank you. And that was a lovely bit of just diverging out. You kept going and you got, you worked it out, yeah? So think really hard when you're doing it. How much are you talking and letting them talk? Yeah? And also how good silence is. Yeah? Don't feel you have to fill in the silence. Sometimes giving a silence in that relationship can be a very powerful way of getting them to think. Yeah? You don't always have to fill the space. I did a coaching course at Henley Business School 3 years ago, and one of the things that my coaching supervisor is always saying to me is, if you look at the hour you have, how long do you normally have with your mentee? What's your time blocks? Or do you just, is it?
I think it's more spontaneous if they need it.
Say again.
I think it's more spontaneous.
More spontaneous, okay.
Yeah. There's
But
no
it-
schedule at least.
There's no schedule. So often with coaching, we tend to do it in a half hour or a 1 hour block. How long do you think you should, as the coach, probably talk in a 1 hour block? Good start. It's, yeah, between 5-6 minutes, about 10% of the time. And I did, and I'm not going to give anything away, I did a coaching session this morning with somebody who's in hospitality, and I really was thinking about how much, and at one stage I just stopped, and there was a really long silence, and I thought, have I lost what a, you know, and I'm going to call her Janet. And I said, is that, and then suddenly she went, and do you know, I'm actually thinking that I should have done that. And we probably had a 40-second silence, which is actually, if you count for, that's quite a long time to be, and yet, just by me being present, she began to work it out for herself, yeah? So again, a lot of it, just you being there is going to be powerful, yeah? Yeah, and so, you know, ask them, how are you feeling? And things like that, and then let them do the talking. And it's much more powerful when they discover the answer than if you give it to them. Yeah? So, who's going to Burns night and needs to go and put on some... Are any of you? Oh, none of this lot.
Burns night didn't turn up.
Oh, didn't they? Bloody useless. Okay, so I'm just trying to think, what else on this list? And I'm then going to do a... oh, here's another one. Have you come across me-high, cheek sent me-high, and flow? I'm going to give you a little model. There's 2 models I'm now going to give you which might help you with the coaching. So, Cheek sent me high is a Hungarian-American. He came academic. And he said in everything we do, our skill or confidence level on that axis goes from low to high. That makes sense, yeah? Whether you, are any of you musicians? Any of you, what sport's that? Ben?
This was rugby, but I'm more playing tennis.
Okay, so when you started, your skill or confidence level was probably there, and are you playing for the thirds, fourths, first? Thank you, I knew who was going to say that. See what I just did there? Anyways, so you're probably out here now. And here is the difficulty of the challenge, yeah? Difficulty of challenge, going from low to high. If you have a really easy challenge, and your skill or confidence level is low, you'll cross here. Does that sort of make sense? If you've got a really difficult challenge and your skill or confidence level, you'll cross up there. Does that seem to make sense? So what Cheek sent me high said is that we are in flow when your skill or confidence level is equal to the challenge. Yeah? How do you feel if your skill or confidence level is low and you're set a really difficult challenge? Out of depth? Unmotivated? Yeah? You want to give up? So I have a 21-year-old son who's at Bath University, and Theo only talks to me by single emoji at a time. Yeah, so if I send him something, go, oh, you coming home this weekend? I'll get 1 emoji. So that's his way of pissing his father off. And he would send me that emoji. You know, it's that sort of, yeah? How do you feel if your skill or confidence level is really high and you're set a really easy task?
You get bored.
Go?
You get bored.
Bored? Not bothered? Yeah. Yeah, you're that. Where does the learning happen? Where did Cheek sent me high say the real learning happens? Ooh, come on, go.
When the challenge is a bit higher than your skill.
Good. You come across this before? That's good. Exactly that. He said you have to come out of flow. Yeah? And so that is again, now I've told you that, and by the way, so leaders have to take people out of flow. Your teachers take you out of flow by giving you new stuff to learn, because otherwise you would do it. But by the time you get to your A-levels, they want you to be so confident that you're in flow, that when you get that exam, you just go, I know what I'm doing here, I know what I'm doing here, I know what I'm doing here, yeah? You never get taken that far out of flow, because that's where you shut down. So, I've got 11 minutes with you. How might you use that as a mentee? I'm going to hold that, just go.
Encourage them to like always like try to the best of their ability, and like if a challenge like seems harder than what their like knowledge like can like do, then just tell them to like that like it levels out, like you learn to get better.
Yeah, and can I build on that, because I think I heard that, is that tell them it's okay to feel out of flow sometimes. That's where you're doing the learning. Yeah, because sometimes when you are that young and you're feeling all a bit like that, you go, am I the only person feeling like this? Could you tell them an example of, hello? Yeah? God, it's all gone full on now. Could you tell them a time when you were out of flow? Will, what were you going to add?
I was just going to say to push them out of their comfort zone.
Say again?
Push them out of their comfort zone.
And you could, sometimes you could maybe push them out. But be very clear how far you're pushing them. Yeah? Because if you push them up there, they ain't coming back. Yeah? And that's the bit that you want to do where you go. Amelia.
I think maybe also showing them that, like, I feel like it's quite commonly perceived that being like kind of out of debt or feeling lost is a very negative thing, and maybe to show them that's like something they can use to their advantage, and that doesn't have to be viewed as such a like negative kind of like.
Fabulous. Turn it into a positive, that you have to. And remember, how many times do you fail when you first come out of flow? Yeah? So you doing some of your hockey, yeah? Do you do the same one every single time, or does your coach push you, Ben? Yeah. And then do you get it right the first time? Do you beat yourselves up and go, I'm never going to do this again? And break your hockey sticks and walk off the pitch? No. Yeah? You embrace that fact that you're learning. So thank you. Yeah? What happens if they're down there and they're saying they're bored?
They're not going to grow in any way. Like, they're not going to develop their personality or learn new things.
Super. And that again. So what I want you to start to do is start to tie some of these things again. You know, you might decide which of these do you need to start pushing to get you back into flow. Yeah? And by the way, in flow, that's where I'm a cyclist. And sometimes if I go out, you suddenly go, gosh, 2-3 hours go. When you're in flow, time compresses. Have we got time for one more? I've got another one. It's called the Johari. This is a super mentoring and coaching model. This was developed by, it's called the Johari window, J-O-H, Johari. Yeah, window, because guess what? It looks like a window. And it was developed by Joseph Ingham and Harrington Luft, I think, who were two Californian psychiatrists in the 1950s. And what they said is that in everything we do, there's part of our personality that is known to us. So known to me, yeah? Does that make sense there? And then there's part of our personality that is, okay, wait a second, so this is classic and we're on film. That is the open window. I just want to get that known to me, known, unknown to me, yeah? And that is and this is known to others. So as Jonathan's writing. So this is your open. We call this your open window, yeah? Because it's known to me. So people might say at work, people know that before a workshop, I tend to get a little stressed, yeah? Before that, and I'm quite aware of that. Then there is other people see in me that I don't see in myself. Does that make sense? So there's part of your character that you are unaware of, and that is your blind spot. Does that make sense? So do you ever sometimes, and you need, when people talk to you about your blind spot, you need to be really careful about how you do that, yeah? Because when people talk about people's blind spot, they can do it as a way of cutting people down, yeah? In high-performing teams, in friendship groups where there's a lot of safety, that's done with love, yeah? You do it to go, do you realize that? And in actual fact, with me, my blind spot for ages was I used to think I was very calm before a workshop, and there's somebody who's worked for me for 25 years, and Fee would go, Jonathan, you're absolutely wound up. Get out of there, go for a walk around the building. And I go, no, I'm very calm. She'd just go, go. And I would go for the walk and come back and go, do you know, I'm feeling a lot better. And she would go, yes. Blind spot, yeah? And then there's also part of our character that's known to me and unknown to others, which we call your hidden window, yeah? And that's the bits of you that for whatever reason you've decided not to share with your colleagues or your friends. And what you're trying to do through life is make this window bigger, yeah? So what you can help, and this is not just in this relationship, but as you grow and you leave here and you go out into the world, as you start to work with people, are you open to having some people go, did you realize, Jonathan, that sometimes you can be really tense before a workshop? Am I open to having that feedback? Are you open to having that feedback? Yeah? And there's a whole lot of stuff locked up in ego in terms of that, about whether we're willing to do that. And are there times with your hidden window where you might put your hand up and go, and in a work context, this is when you put your hand up and go, do you know, I just don't feel comfortable doing that yet. I'd love you to, and it might be, say, let's take an easy one. I don't feel comfortable presenting to the client. Could you just give me a bit of coaching, Jonathan, so that I feel more comfortable? Could I just start with a little bit of the presentation? And unless I know that, I'm going to keep sending you off and go and do it. Yeah? So again, how might you use this with your mentee?
Like allow them to be like vulnerable and like open to criticism, like teach them that like criticism isn't like necessarily negative, but it's something to like grow out of.
Yeah.
And like learn to get better at their weaknesses.
Yeah.
And like it's okay to ask for help. Like if you need like help doing that, that's acceptable and that's fine.
Great. What else?
Maybe with the blind spot, like try and make them make them understand themselves better so that they can work on them and also in situations understand their feelings better.
Yeah. Nice. Nice.
With the hidden window, maybe trying to help them understand how to control their thoughts towards other people.
Yeah. All of those are great. Yeah. And remember, you know, it's also that whole bit of understanding why do we keep stuff hidden? Yeah. And by the way, nobody ever opens that window completely. Even when with your life partners, most people keep some of that. You can get very sort of Freudian in terms of that. But there is, you want to, the bigger the window, the more you can learn and grow. Yeah? So, we've got 2 minutes left, and we're going to do a little bit of self-reflection, and I'm going to do a little exercise that you can maybe try with your mentees, and it's called the 3 L's. Okay? So you're going to grab 3 post-it notes in a second, and on one post-it note, you're going to write something about this session that you liked. Yeah? On a second post-it note, you're going to write something that you learnt and you think, I'm going to try and do something with that. I don't care what you're going to do with it yet, but something you're going to do. And then the third L is something you longed for, but you didn't necessarily get here. That's why it's called this is called the 3 L's review. And I do it at the end of every single workshop. Something you liked on one post-it, something you learnt, and I'll just let you all write and use a different postcode for each. Oh, sorry, yes. There you go, Luca. And this is personal. There's no right or wrong answer. This is a reflective exercise. Cake. That's what most people put on it. Cake. Longed for is, and again I'm going to get you to reflect, was there something that actually you went, I longed for Jonathan to answer my question? Or I longed for, and it's a way of getting, why do you think I asked for longed for? Help? Exactly. It's what could we do differently? Yeah? And I want you now to reflect on, with your mentee, and by the way, in any time you get a bunch together and you run something, at the end of it, you might just go, team, what did you like about that? What did we learn? Was there something we longed for? It's a fabulous way. And then the other bit is, let's put them, when you've done them, let's bring them over here and read each other's, because here this is a chance now also to learn. So bring them over and let's have, when you've done your 3, I'm going to borrow 3 of those, and we'll put this is going to be like learn long. Bring them over when you're done, stick them there. And then the other thing you get as you come to one of my... Once you've done that, you also, a very silly thing that we do at my business, anyone who comes to our workshop gets a Lego key ring that we make. There you go, you get a key ring. So then you can begin. So we've got yes and, diagrams, relatable, learning, the duck, interactions. Do you see how so how might you, the final thought for you to reflect on is how might you use that with your mentees? Not just reflect on that, you don't have to say anything now. So, you can't keep my ducks. Would you want to keep the ducks? Yeah? Go on, you can keep the ducks. Yeah? And here's the challenge. I don't know why I'm doing that, but you can keep the ducks. Yeah? But here's your challenge, is make a different duck every day. Yeah? I want you to see if you can actually do that. Every day you have to make a different duck. And that will push your creativity. Because to start with, you'll be going, that's an easy duck. And I promise you, in 2-3 weeks' time, you'll begin to go, what am I going to do now? Yeah? Go. Enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you.